So my name is Jack Lake. I'm VP of Product at Evado Labs. What we do for the last 5 years is empower companies with AI. So today we wanted to give you some examples of what that means. So first of all, something that everyone wants to know, what will happen in the future? So how can I, for instance, predict my demand more accurately? First of all, you got to know, is your company able to predict, let's say, your sales, your future, let's say, needs inside of the company, whatever it might be, accurately? Do you have a baseline? Usually we take a look at that baseline and we improve it by at least 10%, 30%. It depends where we start off of. But this is one example of how typically companies start to embrace AI, because all of a sudden they have a better understanding of what will happen next. Then once you know, for instance, what your future demand will be, you're going to be looking at, how can I improve my margins? So now that I know how many items I'm going to sell, at which price I should sell them at, what should I promote, what shouldn't I promote? So in this case, what usually ends up happening is we're able to increase your margin by around 5%, 2%. It really depends where we're starting from, how efficient you were originally for pricing. But most of the time, it's almost not even a question of are we going to improve it, it's by how much, right? Because we're enhancing what you already have as systems, even they're performing really well. And afterwards, all right, so now you have a better forecast, you have better pricing. Maybe you want to deal with inventory. Maybe you want to recompose your store if it's a retail store. So in terms of inventory, what we're seeing is we can sometimes reduce or cut your inventory by a third. So what are you going to do with those savings, for instance, right? First of all, if you have a better demand forecast in the store, you could potentially not miss out on lost sales, right? Because you're going to have the right inventory at the right place. And I'm not saying anything amazing here. Companies have been doing this before with other software, with other tools, with other analysis. But the idea here is now we're more precise, we're more accurate. There's less Excel involved in the entire process, of course, or complicated systems. We're making it easy for the users. And in this case, there's a typo on the slide, by the way, if anyone noticed. I hope you were paying attention. What it means is in the case of building out planograms, for instance, so which items should be on which shelves, where they should be positioned, how much of those items you should have on the shelves, all of that is handled automatically. Another example, how do you make your supply chain resilient, right? Everyone is talking about this. Again, with a better demand forecast, a better planning of inventory, assortment, what it might be, in terms of manufacturing, like when do you purchase the raw materials, at what price, how much of it do you stock? All of these elements can be answered with AI. Predicting failures, optimizing latency times in the satellite constellation, and as you can see, we're ramping up the difficulty. How do you optimize qubits in the quantum computer? We really touch every single aspect pretty much of your daily life. We're empowering a lot of the companies in Canada, early detection of disease. I'm going to leave you with that one because this one is close to my heart. It's one of the most important things that we can tackle. So how can we empower you with AI? Come and meet us at our booth. You've probably seen Amika there. If you didn't ask any questions, ask it questions. Challenge it. Ask multiple questions. See how far you can take it so that you have a fun experience with it. And I hope to get to see you soon, meet you soon, and work with you soon.
How big does the data set have to be to actually bother to actually, because I'm sure your clients are like, do AI all on my stuff. Yeah, cool. You need a certain size of data to be able to do that.
Yeah, so what I would say is nobody has perfect data, first of all. The bigger the data set, the better. But not necessarily, right? Because you can have a lot of data that's bad, right? It's not ready for AI, you got to ingest it. So what I would say is get started with whatever you have and see how far you can take it. Because you can always ramp up the difficulty, the complexity of the methodology that we use. You can even start with a regression if you have never really taken advantage of that. You can still get decent results with just the regression, which isn't really AI. But at least get started, get involved, and get your data organized. There's no doubt that this technology is more powerful to some extent than what we used before, right? So there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, and this has been a trend for a decade. But something to remember here is that we're building these tools, right? So involving the users from the get-go, from day one, is incredibly important because the tools that we're building, because these remain tools, they need to serve the client, they need to serve the user, they need to serve whoever is going to be using them, right? We're not building tools to be autonomous. That is super important for us, for Evado Labs. We're here to empower people, right? So that is one aspect. The other aspect is also making sure that the users remain active in it. So to your point, you can use explainability, you can go back, you can modify, change a decision that is being recommended to you. That is incredibly important. You have to give the power to the users over the final outcome.